Hey guys and ladies, welcome to another video. Today we have a very special early impression video on a house that gets very little talk on my channel, and when it does, it's been very negative. It's a house that I haven't been very excited about. I haven't liked what I've smelled. I've been a little turned off by, but people keep telling me, Ramsey, you have to continue to try this house. There is some stuff you will like, and I think I finally found it. So today, we're going to talk about a Pryn Parfum fragrance. So this is from Pryn Lomros's. This is his high-end house, Pryn Parfums. And this is called Morah. And so if you see, I have a very generous decant here, thanks to a friend, Nick. And Nick very kindly sent me some decants a while back that I've been working through, and I still have even more to talk about. Some of these are from him that I need to get to, and today we have an unboxing. Let me see if I can show this without, I just want to show you where it's from. Can you see? Can you see the Queen's head right there on the stamp? This is from England. And so English packages getting through customs is always a fun time. So what we have in this, according to my good friend, is glass figurines. So we have some very interesting glass figurines to discuss with you guys today. But I do want to do the unboxing. I want to show you what he sent me, because there is going to be more of these early impressions thanks to him. And he sent me some very rare stuff in here. So I just want to share it with you first before we get into Morah, which I'm very excited about. Really enjoying wearing Morah today. All right, so let's see what he sent me. So first, we've got a bunch of things, a bunch of awesome things. And so, again, I have to say thank you. Thank you to Nick for putting this kind of stuff together. It's very hard to put out content when there's constantly new stuff coming out, and some of the old stuff you want to talk about is hard to find. And so people like you really make my little journey of making these videos for you guys easier and simpler on me, and a little bit better on my pocket. So first, we have a Eldo fragrance, which is a house that I really rate. I like Eldo. There were a couple Eldo fragrances that made my top 100 niche fragrance video that I did just a couple days back to celebrate 4,000 subscribers. If you haven't checked that out, there's been some great reception from you guys, amazing comments. Really appreciate the generosity of the community there. This is called Vierge et Torres. Vierge et Torres. I've actually never smelled this one. So he built me a little bit of a who's who of fragrances that I have never smelled or talked about on the channel. So I am very grateful to him for that. But Vierge et Toreros. Let's try the pronunciation again, shall we? Vierge et Toreros. There you go. And this is an Antoine Lee. So this is actually an Antoine Lee and an Antoine Macendu. And it's a spicy animalic fragrance from Etro from 2007. And it's cardamom, bergamot, pepper, tuberose, ylang ylang with leather, patchouli, and vetiver. Sounds like it's right up my alley, and I love Antoine Lee's creation. So, Vierge et Toreros. Sounds great. So that is the first one. The second one is going to be a Fort and Manly fragrance called Fatih Sultan Mahmed. Fatih Sultan Mahmed. And I think this is one of the Fort and Manleys that I have never smelled. I don't think I had a chance to smell this one. This is from 2016, and it is, you know, I might have talked about this on my Fort and Manly video. I'll have to go back and check. But this is patchouli, cedarwood, iris, red apple, rose, vanilla, benzoin, bergamot, frankincense, musk, petitgrain, ambergris, tulips, and oud. And so with this amount of juice, I can do a full video dedicated to it. I think I just had a couple drops in the previous decant, so that is exciting to have. And then we have a Histoire de Parfum fragrance, and this is called Rare Veni, V-E-N-I. Histoire de Parfum, Rare Veni. It's from the same line that put out, I think, Rare Fidelis, which I really rate. That's my that's one of my favorite designer oud fragrances, if you will. There's a very good coffee note in oud in Rare Fidelis, by the way. But Veni came out in 2013. Gerald Guisalane is the creative director. I don't know if he's also the perfumer or if there's someone else who is the perfumer behind the scenes. But this is lavender, cardamom, cinnamon, galbanum, saffron, carnation, gaiac wood, vanilla, caramel, ambergris, benzoin, resins, musk, patchouli, and oak moss. Very underrated house is Histoire de Parfums. And then we've got Fort and Manley Amber Absolutely. This is the one. This is one of the Fort and Manleys I'm pretty sure I have not smelled. Let me check and see if I have a decant of this somewhere. Amber Absolutely. There we go. 2016. Yeah, this has been on my wish list. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. This is plum, blackcurrant, rose, amber, labdanum, benzoin, cedarwood, musk, and vetiver. And I've heard many people say this is one of the better ambers out there. So I'm very excited to get to smell this and do a video on it. That's good stuff. So that's Amber Absolutely by Fort and Manley. Okay, and then we've got the final Fort and Manley, which I have not smelled, and this is called Suleiman Magnifique. Suleiman Magnifique. And it is a 2017 release. This has also been on my wish list. So this will be a great video. Can't wait to dive into these. Benzoin, patchouli, Turkish galbanum, amber, cinnamon, tuberose, vanilla, red apple. He loves that red apple note, doesn't he? Ambergris, amiris, musk, rose, and vetiver. So that is awesome. 3 more from this little get up, and then we'll move on to the next one. And so this is Digit and Zach, Rising Mysore 2. Awesome. Can't wait. This is a house that I actually have 1 bottle of. Peter from Fragrance View sent it to me, and I have not gotten a chance to do a video on it yet. But it's called Emperor's Court, and this is actually really, it's a pretty good oud fragrance. It's grown on me the more and more I smelled it. At first, I didn't care for it as much, but the more I've sort of worn it to bed, it's grown on me. So I'll do a video on Emperor's Court one of these days. But this is Pryn. Sorry, this is Rising Mysore by Digit and Zach, and Rising Mysore 2. Rising Mysore 2. Not 100% sure when this came out, but there's a ton of notes in here. Holy basil, neroli, pink pepper, lavender, key lime, orange, damask rose, jasmine sambac, lemon, orange blossom, pink grapefruit, bay leaf, black pepper, cardamom, Ceylon, cinnamon, clove, jasmine grandiflorum, patchouli, pimento, rosemary, star anise, tuberose, ylang-ylang, frankincense, Indian sandalwood. So they say Mysore, Rising Mysore in the name, but I don't know if they're actually using Mysore or just Indian sandalwood. Java, patchouli, myrrh, tonka bean, and vanilla absolute. So that is exciting stuff. And then, let me mark this as off of the wish list and onto the decant list. And then we've got Santa Maria Novella's Nostalgia, which I have talked a little bit about on the channel. I really rate Nostalgia. I think this is a newer bottle of Nostalgia is why he sent me that, so I could do a comparison video. Because I have the vintage bottle of Nostalgia, so that's what the older bottle looks like. I think his is from a newer bottle, if I remember, so I could do a comparison video. And then Rising Cologne by Digit and Zach. So this is one that I've also heard speak very highly of. Rising Cologne is, all of their fragrances have a ton of notes. But this one's a little toned down, not as many. Bergamot, jasmine grandiflorum, key lime, mandarin orange, orange and rose in the top, ginger, henna, jasmine absolute, pink pepper, tuberose, and ylang-ylang in the heart. Australian sandalwood this time. Bangladeshian oud, civet, frankincense, Indian sandalwood, and sandalwood. So I think this is supposed to be like a take, kind of like Bortnikov did amber. What did Bortnikov do? It was called Amber. Let me mark this one as a decant. Bortnikov, Amber Cologne. He did Amber Cologne. So I think it's supposed to be sort of that fresher take on oud with Digit and Zach Rising Cologne. So excited to get to sniff that. And then we have this. So let's see what's in here, because this is exciting. You know, you guys know I love these artisanal houses, we'll call them nowadays. What are you? Oh, baby. Come to Papa. Sultan Leather Attar. Oh. This, there has to be a video on this soon. So this is apparently the Attar version. Okay. Sultan Leather Attar, from my understanding, is the Attar version of EO number 1. So EO number 1 is the spray version of Sultan Attar, which is Sultan Leather Attar, which is the Attar version of EO number 1. So and this is my favorite Ensar, I think. So I'm really, I have to do a video on that soon. I got to get to know that one and wear it and do a video on it. That's good stuff. Very exciting. And then, what else do we have? We have Ensar Oud Rumi. This is another one that's been on the wish list forever. So Rumi is Ensar Rumi. Yes. So this is ginger, apricot, cardamom, and clove with elderflower, bourbon geranium, jasmine sambac, narcissus osmanthus, Persian rose otto, Turkish rose and ylang ylang in the heart, base of ambergris. Ensar loves his real ambergris. Blonde tobacco, Cambodian oud, cacao, coffee, frankincense, and Tibetan musk. Man, cannot wait. Cannot wait to get to smell Rumi. And then we've got Ensar's Morocco Maharaja. Oh, man. Look at this. Very generous decant. Thank you, Nick. That's very kind of you. Let me mark down Rumi off of the wish list and onto the decant list. And then we've got Morocco Maharaja. Morocco Maharaja. This is the so this is the Parfum version. Stay right here, baby. Don't go anywhere. Black pepper, coriander, and fig, with black tea, blue cypress, cardamom, and immortelle, with oak moss, papau oud, blonde tobacco, Tonkin musk, and vetiver. Man, absolutely cannot wait to get to know those. And then we have one more very generous gift from Nick himself. One more little package here. Not so little. This is a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff for me to go to. Each one of these is a video. Think of how much content he just gave me to go through with you guys. Ooh, this one leaked a little. Let me just get it up right. Okay, so this is Oud Luwak. Yes, baby. This is one I've been wanting to smell forever. You are getting bumped directly to the front of the line. Oud Luwak, and I can smell it. A little bit, just a touch leaked, and I can smell it. Oh, I cannot wait. So there's a little bit of a comparison to what what is in the Pryn fragrance we're going to discuss today with Oud Luwak, because Oud Luwak has a it's a coffee fragrance, but there's a specific type of coffee called Kopi Luwak, which is where we'll talk a little bit about it too once we get into the Pryn fragrance, the Morah. But basically, the civets are allowed to partially digest coffee cherries, and so they get eaten by this Asian palm civet, and the cherries are fermented as they pass through the civet's intestines, and then after being defecated with the other fecal matter, they literally collect these coffee pellets, if you want to call it that. And it's big money. This is some of the most expensive coffee in the world. And there's a note of that in Oud Luwak, and there's a note of that also in this one, in Morah. So, and then we have a couple others here. We've got Unum's Opus 1144, which I've heard, actually, not only have I heard it, I've smelled something from this brand that I really rate. There was Unum is a brand that I think deserves a lot of up and coming attention. I know Rich Mitch loves their Lavs, the incense one. I've never smelled that one, but Opus 1144 is elemi resin, mandarin orange, lemon, and jasmine with benzoin, Irish, cashmere wood, and orchid, vanilla, ambergris, leather, sandalwood, and white musk. And this is actually a house that I got a chance to smell. The name of the house is Filippo Sorcinelli. And he created a fragrance that I really rated called But Not Today. And But Not Today is actually a fragrance that's based on the Hannibal series. Hannibal Lecter. And it's a animalic modern fragrance that smells vintage. I love those type of fragrances, and he really knocked it out of the park with But Not Today. It was in one of my blind sniffing videos if you want to check that out. So I'm really excited to try Opus 1144. Really a house that I want to dive into. And then we have DS Durga's Amber Kiso. Okay, so this is a really popular amber as well. And Amber Kiso is a 2018 release, and it's frankincense, Saguaro cypress, cryptomeria, Japanese maple, very unique notes, iris and patchouli with leather, hinoki, cypress, and tree moss. And this is another one. This is another amber that people speak really highly of in the community, so cannot wait to smell that. And then, a couple more, and we'll move on to the main event. Parfumum Roma's Fumudis. Fumudis? I guess it's Fumudis. Parfumum Roma's Fumidus. Fumudis. 1996 release. Woody, smoky, smoked birchwood with vetiver. Very nice. I know these Parfumum Roma fragrances are supposed to be, you know, they're not supposed to change a lot, but they're supposed to be extremely powerful, and it's a brand that I haven't talked about on the channel, so I'm really excited to get to know some of their work. And then we've got Parfumum Roma's Fior d'Ambra. Fior d'Ambra. And Fior d'Ambra is, I think, another one of these ambers that people really rate. Let's see. Fior d'Ambra, 2004 release. Amber, spices, and opium poppy. Sweet seduction. Interesting. Very interesting. Cannot wait to get to dive into these. And finally, we've got St. Giles the Mechanic. So this is a fragrance that I know Persolaise really rates highly. I believe it's a Bertrand Duchaufour creation, if I'm not mistaken. 2017. Yes, it is. It's a Bertrand Duchaufour creation. And the Mechanic is geranium and patchouli in the top, leather and castoreum in the heart, musk, rubber, styrax, and oak moss. And styrax gives this waxy, rubbery feel on its own. So I could easily see mixing in some labdanum and some other things to give off this rubbery-like effect. And actually, this is, Nostalgia is based around this glue rubber-like note. This is based on a sports car. You can see him holding sort of the wheels right there. Okay, so that is awesome, Nick, man. I don't know how to say thank you enough other than thank you, seriously. So much content to do. So much amazing fragrances that I never would be able to talk about on the channel if not for your generosity. So seriously, thank you. That is, I am blown away by how much you gave me, and the size of those decants really lets me wear them, thoroughly test them and wear them before I do my videos. So that's awesome. Okay, so let's get into the main event here, and it is Pryn's Morah. So this is a house that I have tried a few of their fragrances on my channel. If you've been following my channel, you know that every time I try a Pryn fragrance for me, I've done 2 videos so far on the channel, and I actually own 1 bottle. I own a bottle of cigar rum, which is kind of like, I would say, the most popular of the Strangers line. He's got a couple different lines. The Strangers line is like, I think, the cheaper, more scents made for, you know, competing with the everyday, let's say. They're not cheap scents, but they compete with more common, let's say, smells. And Cigar Rum, I think it's one of his more mass appealing scents. I don't think it's a bad fragrance. I just think I'm a little past that DNA. So I think I'm going to review it and maybe sell that bottle of Cigar Rum one of these days. But I've done videos on 2 of his more complex scents as well. One was called Anthamara, and the other was called Haxan, and both of them were big no's for me. Absolutely despised them. Did not like the fragrances at all. It wasn't like, oh, there was just something in there that I couldn't stand. It was the whole fragrance. It was just, it seemed like Pryn was like a mad scientist, you know, standing over like a witch's brew cauldron, and he's just throwing things in there, laughing, stirring it up. You know, just some of the fragrance, the way that it evolved, it just wasn't for me. I did not like his style at all. But people kept telling me, stay with it, Ramsey. There are some Pryn fragrances you'll come across that you'll love. And thanks to Nick, and this is, again, going back to Nick, he's the man that did the unboxing. He sent me this last time. I've been sitting on this for a while. This is called, again, Morah. And so much skepticism sort of goes into testing a new Pryn for me now because of everything that I've gone to. And I always say on my channel, I always say that the motto of Channel Ram is that we are willing to go anywhere. So Russian Adam takes the same sort of approach with his fragrance creations. He goes everywhere, different styles of fragrances, you know, and I pretty much say the same thing. I'm willing to test anything in the fragrance world and talk about it on the channel, which makes sort of a very broad topic on Channel Ram. We go everywhere on the channel. And so finally, the 4th Pryn fragrance that I've talked about on the channel, finally, it did the trick. It's a charmer. It's a winner to me. And I'll tell you why. So first, let's talk a little bit about the name behind the fragrance before we get into the scent. And let me see if I can tell you this Thai fairy tale without absolutely butchering it. So the folk tale is actually named Chantakarab. Chantakarab is the name of the tale. That's what it's known as because of one of the princes in the story, Prince Chantakarab, okay? And so apparently Prince Chantakarab is a very famous tale in Thai mythology. There's a woman in the story named Morah, so that's who it's named after. And Morah is, let's just say, so we can keep our clean rating here at Channel Ram, Morah is an unchaste woman, okay? She's an unchaste woman, and she's very promiscuous in her ways, all right? And she arouses many of the men around her, let's say. And she is ultra feminine in her look, in her appeal, the way she holds herself. She's ultra feminine, and the story basically appears when Prince Chantakarab unlocks a sealed precious casket, all right? So there's this sealed, let's say it is a casket that is sealed. And he unlocks it against many warnings and, you know, basically warnings of him not to open it. He knows better. Still, he opens the casket. And I'm guessing that, you know, the symbolism there of this dangerous, forbidden liaison with Morah, the unchaste woman, is pretty clear right there. You don't have to be you don't have to use too much of your brain cells to put 2 and 2 together there. So then enters another man into the story. So let's say that Prince Chantakarab has a forbidden relationship with this unchaste woman, Morah. And then enters another man described in the story as a bandit. And the bandit, if you will, is rugged, and he basically tries to capture Morah. And Prince Chantakarab instructs her to kill the bandit with a dagger that he has given her. But instead of following the orders, she has a change of heart, and she actually passes the dagger off to the bandit, who uses it to end the prince's life, Prince Chantakharab. Now, that's one version of the story. Another version of the story is that Morah herself slays the kind-hearted Prince Chantakharab to be with the bandit. All right, so whether the bandit does it or she does it, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, the prince, his life is ended. And this leaves so basically what ends up happening is this leaves her alone in the forest with the bandit, okay? Who, of course, stealthily plays on her mood, and he ends up taking her as a lover, all right? But even as the bandit is doing this, in the back of his mind, he's dubious of her. He doesn't trust her ways. She's a little bit too scandalous for him, so he leaves. Ends up leaving her. Abandons her in the forest. Alone. And another man approaches. This is the story, I swear to God. Another man approaches, but this time it's not a man. It is actually a god. And the god is the Hindu holy god known as Indra. And some in the story say that he appears to her in the guise of an eagle, sort of like tricks her as an eagle. Some say he approaches as a man. There's different writings of this tall tale. But in a nutshell, he makes her succumb her body over in exchange for a string of meat to satisfy her carnal desires. This is the story, all right? You guys read into this whatever you want. But upon hearing her honest request that, yes, she is willing to give her body over, he turns sour, and he puts a spell on her as punishment, trapping her spirit in the body of a female gibbon monkey. So he basically traps her, turns her into a monkey. And there's a note that basically says that the fragrance wants to celebrate so the scent, Morah, basically wants to celebrate both the strengths and weaknesses of women like Morah, whose total orientation of life is to survive in this wicked world. Some say wicked man-run world, which that sounds like a very, what would you say, a very woke interpretation of the story, whose absolute power lies in the hands of men, and that she just basically was a victim in basically a man's run world. And they just sort of used her, and she was a victim, and because of her weakness, if you will, this all happened to her. But really, it's because it's a man's run world. I don't know if I agree with that telling of it, but it says, be it man or woman, it is not our survival instinct that rules over us all. We'll leave you and your nose to decide your fate. So that's a little blurb sort of from Pryn. It does say, interestingly enough, fair warning, in addition to notes detailed above, there is a hidden note rendered from precious civet coffee seeds, which we will talk a little bit about. So, crazy story, right? And how does it all sort of play together? So outside of the crazy backstabbing story, no matter how you read it, whether you can't turn a you-know-what into a housewife reading, or whether you think she was just a victim of, what do they call it nowadays, of oh gosh, I can't even think of the word, whether she was just a victim of this, man's run world. I'm trying to think of the, of the word, you're a misogynist, this misogynistic man-run world, however you want to read the tale. It's an interesting tale, and it actually does sort of play into the fragrance a little bit, because you could say that this sort of hypnotizing essence of this tempting spirit you can smell it in like the earthy wild spices. The unchaste woman could be this exotic, subtly arousing, let's say, animalic civet note, which we'll talk about some here as well. So it sort of does play together, and it's finally, to me anyways, it's finally a scent that does exactly what I expected from a Pryn scent. Whenever I smelled Pryn's fragrances and I heard people comparing it to things like Russian Adams' work with Arise La Dorée, and Ensar's work and Bortnikov's work, and then I smelled some of these like Anthamara and Haksan, I was like, no, not even close. Pryn is junior high level compared to these guys, in my opinion. But getting to smell this is almost like partially a redemption story for me, because he finally created something that doesn't feel like he is that mad scientist dumping things into the pot and just seeing what happens. It feels like there is a meaning to the fragrance. It feels like it is blended expertly as well. That's the other thing. This smells fantastically blended. So, what are the notes? So basically, according to Parfumo, Morah is aldehydes, cannonball tree blossom, which we'll talk a little bit about, cumin, oak moss, opium, tobacco, black pepper, champaca flower, civet, coffee absolute, a word that I'm going to try to pronounce, but I'm not sure exactly. I could probably look it up, but it's Artabortris siamensis. Maybe that's the specific, leavings of the civet, the coffee, the civet in consumed coffee, if you will. Ash tree, frangipani, gardenia, Indian tuberose, sandalwood, and teak. So a couple of very interesting notes too, and then we'll talk about what it reminds me of. So the flowers, by the way, used in this scent are native Thai flowers. So they're Asian Thai flowers used in this scent. Like, for example, this cannonball flower that was mentioned earlier. It's a flower that has a very sweet, green, floral, almost will remind you of something like other flowers like hyacinth or petunia or rose. And it has a very characteristically green feel. So there's this green sage note that pops through this cannonball tree flower. Apparently it's a very big flower too. And the opium note, very interestingly enough, is supposed to represent, of course, the addiction of Morah's lascivious behavior, if you will. I'm trying to be like politically correct here. So this, or at least child-friendly, trying to make this a family show, let's say. I don't want to get the X rating on YouTube and have my videos canceled. So let's say she was very lascivious in her nature. And but the opium note obviously is supposed to represent this this addiction, let's say, this sexual addiction. And some say that I don't know exactly what opium would smell like. That's not the fragrance, but obviously the drug itself or the flower itself. I don't know what opium would smell like. Interestingly enough, I would love to know if anyone knows, but I honestly don't know off the top of my head what opium smells like. And that civet note that's used in there, you can smell a little bit of coffee. And so according to the brand, it basically says that so it says there's a hidden note rendered from this precious civet coffee seed. Traditionally harvested seeds with distinct aroma brings in a rather musky yet luxurious, subtly inviting scent tempered with softly burning spice wood chips. So dare yourself and come open the casket and explore the world of Morah with your own senses. That's a note directly from the brand. And that coffee smell, to me, this smells like a chypre construction, okay? So even though many characterize this as, let's say, Pryn Lomros's take on a floriental, okay? Because of the florals and this sort of oriental style with this beautiful sandalwood base. And the base in this is stunning. So I did a fresh spray here and I've got a dry down here. And the base with the sandalwood, there's two woody notes in the base that shine through, sandalwood and teak wood. And teak wood's a wood you don't see used very often as well. It's used in one of my favorite Trussardis called Inside for Men. That's a Nathalie Lorson creation. There's a teak wood note in here, but here it smells so natural with the sandalwood. The florals smell very intoxicating and unique. But most importantly for me, a couple things popped in my head instantly. So the very first fragrance that popped in my head is this. This is Diaghilev, one of my favorite Rojas of all time. This is a proper Baroque old school chypre, right? But there's a twist because whenever you smell Morah, you'll notice that civet style coffee almost immediately. But even before the coffee, I was thinking about these coffee cherries that they were eating, and I don't know if that's just a what they commonly. So basically, there's this common fruit, the pulp inside the pip, they call it, inside of the red or purple fruit, and the fruit is often referred to as coffee cherry. And apparently, just like ordinary cherries, it has a little bit of a stone fruit cherry-like smell, since they're not technically beans, coffee beans, even though they're called coffee beans. So the fruits almost have this cherry or berry-like smell. And whenever you smell Morah for the very first time, you'll pick up a little bit of this red berry, like a little bit of this red berry cherry fruitiness that I have no clue where it's coming from because there's nothing listed in the notes. And that is my guess. It's actually the digested coffee cherries that go through the civet's intestine. Sounds insane. To a non-fragrance lover, this is going to sound like we're talking witchcraft. Like we're literally joining Pryn at the boiling cauldron, just throwing stuff in, using insane words. Who would want to have civet coffee in their fragrance? But it adds this very alluring touch to it. And you know what it reminded me of instantly was, after Diaghilev, was this. Zoologist Civet. And of course, there was a Shelley Waddington who created Civet, and this, I think, won one of the, or was a finalist in the Art and Olfaction Awards. I think this is one of the zoologists that's full bottle worthy. I don't think I would buy it, just because I have so many other fragrances that sort of go in this realm. But I have a full review on this. If you want to hear my thoughts on Civet, you can go watch that video. It's under the Zoologist playlist, or I'm sure if you just YouTube searched Zoologist Civet, it would pop up. But, there's a Darren Allen Chypre #1 that's very similar to this. There's Roja Chypre Extraordinaire. I actually think this is better than Roja Chypre Extraordinaire. At 1/10 of the price. It used to be like 1/50th of the price, but they cut the price big time. But but that coffee note will remind you a little bit of what Shelley Waddington did with the Chypre here in Civet. And I think that's what threw people off with the name Civet, because they were expecting something like Kouros, but what they ended up getting was a Chypre with this civet coffee-like feeling because of this Kopi Luwak, which I cannot wait to smell get to know the Arise La Dorée Oud Luwak, probably one of the best takes on this, Kopi Luwak. Probably one of the best takes, I think, that I'll ever smell from hearing people that I really trust that know that fragrance. And so it's kind of like the holy grail of coffees is what that is. I mean, we're talking serious money for some of these civet production, Kopi Luwak production. And you get a little bit of that in Morah. But when it mixes with this berry, cherry like opening with the coffee, with that beautifully blended, almost Chypre style, that will remind you of things like Diaghilev, because there's this depth to it. There's cumin, definitely cumin. And some of the things that I complained about on Pryn's previous videos, so if you watch some of my previous videos like Anthamara or Haksan, I just complained about how he uses these very heavy spices that seem unbalanced, and it's almost like he wanted to put a little bit of cumin in there, and it had one of those openings with the holes in it so you could control how much comes out. And let's say someone didn't put it on right, and the whole can, the whole little bottle of cumin just fell into the pot. And so you said, screw it, I'm just gonna go ahead and continue on. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue on with my I'm gonna go ahead and continue on with building this little pot that I'm doing. And even though I dumped all the spices in, I'm just going to go ahead and continue on. And, then it happens again with some of the other spices, the cardamom and all the other things. And so you're just left with this absolute mess. You're left with just an absolute mess of a creation. And it was totally overdosed on spices. Here, it feels so much better blended. It feels masterfully blended. You get a little bit of that. And I can see his DNA. The Pryn DNA, if you will. There is a little bit of that spiciness that seems like it's going to be a little too much, but here, unlike some of the other scents from him that I tried, it feels much, it feels dosed in a smarter fashion, let's say. And so I like the cumin, but the mixture of the cumin and the tobacco and this almost chypre construction with this ash note. Now, they list ash tree on one side of the coin, which I'm not 100% sure if it's supposed to be an ash tree, which is a different smell than just ash, because in some breakdowns it literally says ash, which this doesn't smell like ash. It smells more like ash tree, which is, I think, somewhere like in the olive or lilac family. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it's a pure ash note like you would find in Mitzman or anything like that. But there's these little intricate, beautiful little details that will remind you of a very detailed scent like Diaghilev. But what ties it all together is, if you've ever smelled Anna Zworykina's fragrances, so these actually, Rich Mitch just did a breakdown of the house. And this was the one that I think he liked the most, this Cuir de Russie. So this is a 15 mil. This is the biggest bottle they do, 15 mils. I thought this was a 30 mil. It's a 15 mil. But if you've smelled the way that her sort of natural perfume smells, you'll get an idea of the way Pryn's fragrances feel. They all sort of feel somewhat natural, even though he doesn't use as many naturals as Anna Zworykina. It has a feeling of that. There's a little bit of this natural, perfume creation feeling underneath it all. Not the main player. I would say the main two comparisons here would be these two, if you just want to get sort of in the ballpark. But what a creation this is. I'm a big fan of Morah. I mean, I would say this is even full bottle worthy, although I'm on a little bit of a buying hiatus, if you will. There's just no reason. I mean, I do have one more thing coming that is taking forever to get here. I ordered it over a month ago. It's still not here. But outside of that, and it's a big ticket item too, outside of that, I'm just sort of enjoying what I have, but if I was in buying mode, this would be a full bottle. Morah would be a full bottle. This is my kind of fragrance. And so, to Nick, thank you very much for sending this. To everyone who said stick with the House of Pryn, thank you, because this is worth it. Really, finally can say I found something that feels like that really showcases Pryn's ability as a perfumer, and it does it in a type of fragrance that I really love. So, Morah, a winner in my book. Finally, my fourth Pryn I've really talked about on the channel, and we finally found one. So, fourth time's a charm. So, if you have experience with the House of Morah, do let me know. Let me know which one from the unboxings that you're most excited to hear me talk about. Again, thank you, Nick. I know I've said thank you, but thank you again. So thanks to everyone for watching. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.